Greetings, and thank you for joining me on this narrative journey. Have you ever experienced the sensation of solitude within the confines of your own existence? Have you ever come to the poignant realization that the love you once held dear has gradually slipped into the shadows? Today, I wish to unfold a narrative woven with threads of solitude, enlightenment, and liberation, a tale that explores both our losses and the unforeseen treasures we discover along the way. Let us embark on this journey together. My name is Scarlett Williams, and at 32 years old, I reside in an expansive mansion nestled in the suburbs of Los Angeles, California. It seems just ideal, doesn't it? A stunning and intelligent woman enjoying a cozy existence alongside her husband. I am wed to Ethan Carter, a 42-year-old businessman of considerable wealth and influence, the man I believed would be my partner for eternity. Yet after 8 years of shared moments, I've begun to realize that our love has transformed into something different from what it once was. We are without children, and although I have never held his health struggles against him, I cannot ignore the growing emptiness that has settled over our marriage. We once shared unforgettable experiences, opulent journeys to Paris, New York, Tokyo, and countless enchanting moments. Evenings illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight, accompanied by the soothing strains of smooth jazz, were once delightful. However, as time passed, Ethan found himself increasingly engulfed in his work, an unending cycle of meetings, lengthy business trips, and incessant phone calls. He couldn't bear to set his phone aside, even during dinner. Gradually, I understood that his career held greater significance than my own. Initially, I attempted to go along with it. I immersed myself in yoga, explored the world of drawing, and ventured into the realm of new recipes. Yet in the end, I could no longer evade the reality. I was merely a solitary woman within the confines of my own abode. Our mansion stood in an upscale enclave of Beverly Hills, encircled by stunning residences that seemed to have stepped right off the silver screen. It was as if I had stepped into a film, yet the people around me remained silent, their conversations absent. My neighbors resembled Ethan in many ways, accomplished, preoccupied, and too absorbed in their own pursuits to pay attention to anything beyond their immediate concerns. During his business trips, the house transformed into an elegant prison. The opulent chandeliers, the extravagant hardwood floors, the stunning blue pool in the backyard, it all seemed futile as I confronted the void within me. Throughout the daylight hours, I managed to put on a facade. I would venture out, browse the shops, spend time with a few friends, and feign a zest for life. Yet as darkness enveloped the night and the glow from the neighbors' windows faded into oblivion, a transformation unfolded. The echoes of laughter outside dwindled, leaving me in solitude. A realization washed over me. I had lost something truly significant, not wealth or recognition, but that authentic sensation of being cherished. Ethan sensed my loneliness, yet rather than spending more time with me, he gifted me 2 Doberman puppies to keep me company. Initially, I found myself somewhat indifferent. I had never considered myself particularly fond of animals, and was skeptical that they could truly alleviate the void within me. Yet with each passing day, I found myself increasingly aware of their presence, Zeus and Ares, these magnificent, powerful, utterly devoted dogs. Ethan had honed their skills with great care. To ensure my safety during his absences, they consistently followed me, their oddly perceptive eyes, observing in silence. Initially, I thought they were merely 2 dogs, yet there was an unexpected twist. They comprehended me more profoundly than anyone else ever had. In Los Angeles, rain is a rare visitor, yet tonight it softly tapped against the window, harmonizing with the whisper of the wind as it danced through the trees beyond. Alone on the expansive cream sofa in the living room, I found solace in a delicate blanket, the table before me a silent companion. A cup of chamomile tea sat invitingly, its warmth mirrored by the soft yellow glow of the TV screen, casting a gentle light across the room as a romantic movie unfolded before me. The protagonist, an enchanting woman, found herself enveloped in the embrace of the man she adored, their gazes brimming with emotion as they exchanged a kiss beneath the rain, precisely as I had always envisioned with Ethan. Yet that feels like an eternity ago. I lifted my cup to my lips, the warmth of the tea contrasting with the hollow ache within me. This house loomed large, enveloped in an unsettling silence, its chill seeping into every corner. I glanced around, my heart racing as I caught sight of Zeus. Ares sat beside me, accompanied by two large dogs. Their sleek black fur shimmered, while their eyes radiated a luminous glow in the darkness. They remained silent, neither barking nor growling, their stillness profound, as they gazed at me as if words lingered unspoken in the air between us. With a soft chuckle, I placed my teacup down and tenderly stroked Zeus's head. "Do you both understand my solitude?" I murmured, my voice brimming with feeling. Silence reigned as expected. They were incapable of speech. Yet the gaze they cast upon me conveyed a profound sense of understanding. Zeus pressed his head gently against me. A peculiar warmth blossomed in my chest as Ares tilted his head and wagged his tail. After what felt like an eternity, I found myself experiencing a sense of connection I hadn't felt in a long time. From that moment forward, I began to pay closer attention to Zeus and Ares. Each morning as I stirred from slumber, they would be there poised by my door, anticipating my invitation to enter. As I descended into the kitchen to brew my morning coffee, I felt their presence shadowing my every move with unwavering attention. As I sat in the garden, engrossed in my book, they would recline beside me, occasionally lifting their heads to glance in my direction. They cast a fleeting look in my direction, gauging my well-being. Initially, I believed it was merely a dog's instinct to safeguard, yet I soon realized they were far from ordinary companions. They sensed my emotions when joy filled the air. They danced across the yard, leaping and frolicking. In moments of sorrow, they would curl up beside me, silent and still. And during times of uncertainty, they would softly nudge my hand, their eyes radiating a warmth I had never anticipated encountering in creatures. One evening, as I immersed myself in a romantic film, the narrative cast a shadow over my spirits. They say that genuine love can overcome any obstacle, but is that truly the reality? Once my heart was wholly devoted to Ethan, yet now I find myself questioning how much of his heart remains with me. In that moment, a wave of self-pity washed over me, an aching desire for a comforting embrace, a soul who could grasp the depths of my sorrow, yearning for just a flicker of the warmth that once enveloped me in love. Before I realized it, tears began to fall, and then I sensed a gentle touch on my hand. As I pivoted, my gaze fell upon Zeus and Ar standing there. They caressed my hand gently before resting their heads on my lap, as if offering me solace. "We're here, and we're never leaving you," I said, laughter mingling with my tears as I enveloped them in my embrace. For the first time in ages, a sense of solace washed over me, despite the fact that my sources of comfort were not of the human kind. In that instant, I realized that Zeus and Ares transcended the role of mere pets. They had become my companions. In this house, they were my sole companions, understanding me without the need for words. No longer was I solitary. As the days unfolded, I began to realize that Zeus and Ares transcended their roles as mere guard dogs. They had become my steadfast companions, companions who understand me effortlessly without the need for words. I would while away my days frolicking in the garden alongside them. Zeus reveled in the thrill of sprinting, while AR would eagerly pursue me during my morning workouts. As I settle onto the porch bench, immersed in the pages of a book, or simply observing the clouds drift lazily overhead, they sit beside me in serene companionship, enveloping me in a comforting sense of safety. Yet it is during the evenings, when the weight of solitude bears down, that I truly recognize the depth of my feelings for them. The night was draped in a curtain of rain, and Ethan had departed from home earlier that day. At dawn, he took to the skies heading to New York for an important meeting. Before he departed, he swiftly remarked, "I'll attempt to return early. Don't forget to secure the door." I offered a smile and a nod, yet I was acutely aware that his interpretation of early could stretch to a week, perhaps 2 or even more. I had grown accustomed to his absence. Once more the rain fell that night. I nestled into the couch, cradling a small pillow against my chest. The flickering images of a romantic movie danced across the screen, yet my mind wandered, unable to tether itself to the unfolding story. The spark of enthusiasm had faded away. In the stillness of solitude, I found myself yearning for love stories reminiscent of days gone by. A sigh escaped my lips as I pondered the transformation I had undergone, becoming a woman who sits in quiet corners, sipping tea alone, watching films in silence, and questioning whether my husband still holds me in his thoughts. I am a figure of tears, with no one to offer solace or wipe them away. Just as I sank deeper into this sea of reflection, a gentle warmth brushed against my hand. Turning, I discovered Zeus, his presence close, his round, sparkling eyes seemingly attempting to decipher the sorrow that enveloped me. Ares too approached with a quiet grace, resting his head against my chest, his warm breath a comforting reminder of connection amidst the loneliness. Touching my skin, they couldn't speak yet. I could clearly feel the unspoken words they wished to convey. "You're not alone." I laughed, the pain in my chest suddenly easing a little. I reached out to stroke their soft fur, feeling their steady breathing. "Thank you for always being there for me," I whispered, as if offering a sincere gratitude. Zeus and Ares wagged their tails, slightly snuggling closer to me. From that day on, I understood that the bond between me and Zeus and Ares had transformed. They weren't just companions anymore. My dogs are my only companions now, the sole friends I have in this house. Each night, as I sat alone on the sofa, Zeus and Ares were always there, ever watchful, patiently waiting for me to embrace them. Every morning they would be sitting outside the door, as if anticipating my arrival into the new day. In moments of weakness, they offered no words, merely lying quietly beside me, yet that presence was enough to bring me peace. It dawned on me a truth I had likely tried to deny for far too long. For a long time I had ceased to hope for Ethan's transformation. The notion that he would choose to spend time with me or make me feel cherished had faded as I discovered solace in unexpected places. I pondered where this shift might lead me. Would I still yearn for Ethan's return? Or would I eventually come to understand that my solitude had been unexpectedly soothed? Ethan remained frequently absent, lost in business trips, and his calls home dwindled to mere snippets of conversation, often concluding with a fleeting promise, "I'll be back soon." I have ceased to hold faith in those words, relinquishing the anticipation of his return as I once did. The countdown of days has faded along with the yearning for candlelit dinners that now belong to the past. Yet I find myself less lonely than I once was. Zeus and Ares have woven themselves into the fabric of my life, understanding me in ways that no one else can. With each passing day, the connection I share with them grows stronger. They seem to perceive every shift in my mood. On mornings when weariness clings to me and the bed feels like a refuge, they remain by my side. Beside me, they lingered in silence, asking for nothing, simply existing in the moment. When joy filled the air, they danced around the garden, their eyes glimmering as if to reflect my happiness. On chilly nights, I would settle on the porch, reclining in my chair, gazing up at the vast night sky. Zeus and Ares lay at my feet, offering a sense of peace that eluded description. In an unexpected twist, I found myself feeling safer with them than with Ethan. One late evening, I returned home after a dinner with friends, having indulged a bit too much in drink that day. Much wine, not out of sadness, but rather as a means to alleviate the weight of the day. Upon entering the house, I noticed the clock on the wall, nearing midnight, the silence enveloping me like a familiar embrace. I loosened the constraints of my tight dress, slipped off my high heels, and relished the sensation of the cold floor beneath my bare feet. Uncertainty lingered about whether I had closed the door. Yet it felt inconsequential in that moment. Fatigue settled in, though sleep eluded me. I made my way to the living room, sank into the sofa, leaned my head back, closed my eyes, and let out a deep sigh. It was then that I sensed a warm breath nearby. Right next to me, I opened my eyes to find Zeus and Ares sitting there, their gaze fixed upon me. They were silent, not barking or moving, simply observing with an intensity that spoke of concern and unwavering protection. I chuckled softly, thinking how much they resembled bodyguards. Zeus edged closer, nuzzling his head into my chest, while Ares settled behind me, lying down as if to shield me from the outside world. I reached out to stroke their soft fur, and for the first time in what felt like ages, I experienced a profound sense of peace. In their presence, there was no judgment, no expectations, just an embrace of acceptance. I felt a sense of inadequacy, yet I was never truly abandoned. Only these two loyal companions remained steadfast by my side. That night, as I drifted off on the sofa, with Zeus and Ares nestled in my arms, Ethan faded from my dreams. 3 days later, he unexpectedly returned from New York. The duration of his absence had blurred in my mind, for the first time in years, it no longer weighed on me. He entered the house, set down his suitcase, and met my gaze. "I'm home." I offered a faint smile, transformed and unburdened. Feeling the same eager excitement as before, Zeus and Ar also stood up, but unlike the previous times when they happily rushed to greet him, this time they just stood still, their eyes watching closely. They had changed. Ethan looked at the two dogs, frowning. "They seem different," he remarked. I just smiled slightly, saying nothing, because I knew there were things that Ethan would never understand. We used to be husband and wife, but now we are just two people living under one roof. I am no longer lonely, but the person who fills the space beside me feels distant. The void within me was no longer defined by his absence on a business trip. Ethan returned after nearly 2 weeks in New York. Yet instead of joy and relief at seeing my husband, I was met with an intangible distance. He was still Ethan, clad in an expensive suit, shiny leather shoes, and the familiar Rolex watch adorning his wrist. Yet between us there existed only polite greetings and prolonged silences. I no longer held him accountable. My expectations had faded. I sensed that Ethan understood this from the moment he stepped through the door, as I had prepared dinner in silence. As always, a straightforward dinner of beefsteak and salad, Ethan's favorite. We sat facing one another, the candlelight dancing on the table. Yet the atmosphere lacked the romance it once held. The only sounds were the clinking of knives and forks against porcelain plates reverberating in the stillness. Ethan stole glances at me now and then, as if words lingered on his lips, yet he hesitated, caught in the web of unspoken changes. I chewed in silence, acutely aware of another pair of eyes upon me, Zeus and Ares, their gaze unwavering, fixed intently on me. Not even for a moment after dinner did I hesitate. I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped out onto the balcony to inhale the evening air. Both Zeus and Ar trailed behind me, silent as loyal shadows. Ethan lingered in the doorway, leaning against the frame, his gaze fixed on me with an intensity that suggested he was trying to discern the moment I had transformed. He took a sip of his drink, then suddenly chuckled. I've never seen them like this. I turned to him, raising my eyebrows in inquiry. How they followed me, watched me, protected me as if he paused, then frowned slightly, as though they didn't want me near them. I laughed. You've been gone for so long, they probably just found it strange. But I knew that wasn't true. Zeus and Ares weren't just unfamiliar with Ethan's return. They didn't want him back in my life. I could feel it in their eyes, in the way they stood between me and Ethan, in the way they followed my every step, as if to tell Ethan that I was no longer his. The strangest thing was, I didn't feel anything was wrong that night. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Ethan lay beside me, yet sleep eluded me. I shut my eyes, but my thoughts surged like a restless tide. The sense of safety I once found in his presence had vanished, replaced by an unsettling distance. The warmth that once enveloped me, the warmth of a husband I had cherished, was now a distant memory. I turned away, my gaze drawn instinctively to the door. Zeus and Ares sat sentinel before it, their eyes fixed on me, unblinking and still. In that heavy silence, a realization dawned upon me, stark and undeniable. I no longer loved Ethan. With each passing day, his presence faded further into the background, and I found myself no longer in need of him. Zeus and Ares filled the emptiness he had left behind. Gone were the days of waiting in vain, the lonely nights that stretched endlessly, and the feeling of abandonment within my own marriage. I recognized that my love for Ethan had withered away. I just had never summoned the courage to acknowledge it. The following morning, as Ethan stirred awake, I was already gone from our bed. I had risen early, brewed myself a cup of coffee, and stepped out onto the porch, where Zeus and Ar awaited me. They bounded over, embracing me in their own unique way, a silent greeting that brought a smile to my face. I bent down to embrace them, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, a genuine happiness washed over me. The following morning, I awoke at the break of dawn, not by choice, but because sleep eluded me, with Ethan beside me. His presence felt foreign, as if he were a stranger I had encountered after years of silence. That unsettling sensation gnawed at me more than anything else. I slipped out of the room and made my way to the kitchen to brew some coffee. Zeus and Ares awaited me, bounding over with their usual exuberance, their eyes sparkling with joy. The closeness I had never witnessed from Ethan enveloped me as I settled onto the porch steps, my fingers gliding over their soft fur. A gentle breeze swept by, cool and refreshing, prompting me to take a deep breath. Moments later, Ethan emerged, clad in a white shirt, and cradling a cup of coffee, his gaze contemplative as he observed me with Zeus and Ares. He lingered in silence for a few seconds before breaking it, his voice cutting through the stillness. "You woke up early." I nodded, my focus elsewhere. Ethan stepped closer, positioning himself behind me, but Zeus and Ares sensed the shift. They rose instinctively, placing themselves between us, their eyes wary as they regarded Ethan. Frowning, I wondered what was troubling them. I gently caressed Aries and spoke softly. "They're used to having only you." Ethan offered a faint smile, yet discomfort flickered in his eyes. "What do you mean?" he asked. For the first time in ages, I turned to meet his gaze, refusing to look away. I articulated each word with clarity. "What I mean is, I'm used to not having you." Ethan fell silent, his grip on the coffee cup tightening, but he remained mute. Perhaps he had come to this realization long ago. Perhaps he understood that I had changed, yet he never found the courage to confront it. Several minutes drifted by in silence, punctuated only by the whisper of the wind and the gentle breaths of Zeus and Ares. Finally, Ethan set the coffee cup down on the table. "I know you're angry with me, Scarlett. I know I've neglected you for too long, but we can start over, right?" I met his gaze, his eyes still earnest, yet they no longer stirred any uncertainty within me. I was weary of waiting for him, accustomed to his absence, and worse still, I felt nothing when I looked into his eyes anymore. I shook my head. "Ethan, I'm not mad at you." "You? Then why can't we do it again?" Scarlett asked, a chuckle escaping my lips, though it held no trace of joy. "No, Ethan, we're not us anymore." His gaze locked onto mine, confusion flickering in his eyes, swiftly followed by despair. In that moment, I understood he had lost me entirely. Ethan left that afternoon, words unspoken, merely casting one last glance my way before stepping out the door. There was no argument, no tears, no desperate clinging. It had been over for a long time, a truth we had both been too afraid to confront. I stood by the door watching as his car faded into the distance. As I stood in the driveway, my heart illuminated by an unexpected light, I found myself devoid of sadness or regret. Instead, a profound sense of freedom enveloped me. Zeus and Ares flanked me, their gazes fixed on Ethan's car, yet they appeared unbothered by its presence. I knelt down, embraced them, and softly murmured, "Let's go home." In that moment, I stepped into a house without Ethan for the first time in years, yet it was filled with a peace I had never experienced before.